the viewers on Decoding Venture. This is our second episode from 2020. The year's changed a little bit from how it began. We're all adapting. So I have a very, very special guest with me, Matt Wolach. Did I pronounce your last name right?
Wolach, yeah, you're close.
Wolach. Okay, I don't know why I went for the other style, but okay, cool. Matt Wolach. Why don't you introduce yourself to the audience? Why don't you speak about your work and some of the exciting things that you've been working on while the rest of the world is in quarantine, and probably you too.
Definitely in quarantine. Yeah, as you can see, I'm in my home office here with all my fun sports things behind me. But yeah, I'm Matt. I've been in the SaaS world for a long time, almost 15 years or so, and been a part of 4 startups, and been very lucky enough to be able to sell 3 of those, and one of them still going on its way towards doing very well. So I love SaaS. I love the startup culture, and I love helping companies in that phase and getting to whatever their goal is, investment or an exit or just killing it overall. So what I do and what my company Excelis does, we help companies, we help people structure their sales process, specifically from when the lead comes in all the way through to close. And so we really look at each step of that process and really make sure we're implementing the best possible ways to get people over the line, get people converted into the next step so that you can increase revenue and really start crushing it.
That's awesome. So I guess a lot's changed now. There's a lot of uncertainty in the, like in most businesses at this point, whether it's a small business, whether it's a big business, every single business, it's uncertain times. And while it's uncertain times for a lot of companies which offer solutions which are beneficial to this particular market condition, they're still doing very well. For example, Zoom, the service we're using to record this, it's seen a lot of growth in obviously sales, and also the stock just did the 200% increase, or I think 100% increase. It did a 2x recently, from what I noticed. So there's a lot of speculation going on, and there's a huge shift to moving operations remotely. And I think sales, it's a very easy operation to migrate to a remote environment. So Matt, why don't you share a few tips with the audience about how they can succeed with a remote sales staff, even during difficult market conditions?
Yeah, great point. And it is crazy what's happening with Zoom. I wish I would have jumped on that stock a while ago. It's funny, I was just talking with somebody else about Zoom, just a little sidebar here. You know, it used to be a long time ago that WebEx was the thing. That was the kind of first mover in having these online meetings, at least at a local level. And then also GoToMeeting right after that kind of took over. It used to be everybody would say, hey, send me a GoToMeeting, and that was the thing, and everybody used it. And now Zoom has totally taken over that market. It came in and dominated what were existing players and what was an existing big player in GoToMeeting, Citrix. And so it's really funny what Zoom has done. It's kind of so much for the first mover advantage. It's really who can adapt and who can perform and deliver what the market is looking for, I think, in that scenario. Just to take a little sidebar on that, I think that's really interesting. But to your point, Suraj, and to your question, what can companies do in order to help remote staff? Well, there are definitely a few things. And it should be noted that while a lot of companies right now are going remote because of the situation, other companies have been very successful at being remote prior to this. And they've been able to, maybe it was to attract employees from wherever they are and not have to focus on just their local market. Maybe it was to decrease office costs. So there are a lot of reasons to have remote staff. One company in particular, Hotjar, which does kind of website tracking, so to speak, they're totally remote and they do it really, really well. So they've got some ideas that you can go find on their blog and website on how to be the best at being remote. They've done it for a while. But there are definitely some things you want to do. And I've managed remote teams, and it's very important to make sure that you make them feel like they're still part of the team. You make them feel like they're still ingrained in the culture, that they still have complete understanding of what's going on back at the home office or back with you and your team. You want to make sure that they don't feel isolated. That would be really bad for them to feel isolated. So you want to make sure that you're connecting with them. Now, how would you do that? Well, Zoom is one example. Zoom's great. When you have a Zoom call, and I just had one with some of my college buddies last night, you feel like you're there. You get that personal connection. You feel like you've just been hanging out with them live and in person. And so it's good enough that it gives you that emotional hit that you've actually connected. So definitely make sure that you're doing frequent Zoom calls. And then of course you want to make sure that you're connecting other ways. Slack obviously is a very, very popular one for quick, easy little notes. I don't love Slack for bigger, intense points of communication or for something that's absolutely needed. I'd much prefer other ways to request that. But for quick questions or for something that you want to make sure you're connecting, or even for fun, if you want to share a little gift and make sure that people are still having fun in the work environment, Slack works great also.
Okay, I think you went over some of these tools, and I think, I've been pretty remote for the last 2 years in terms of the teams I've managed, in terms of people I work with. I mean, at the end of the day, it gives you access to a larger pool of talent. My question was more towards there's a certain level of trust that you establish, one-to-one meeting, especially if you're doing big ticket sales. But obviously now, people are going to be more open to making these purchases completely remotely without, you meeting face to face or describing the solution. I guess obviously Zoom calls are going to work, but are there any tips that you have in terms of maybe body language or in terms of, I don't know, maybe some different tangents that you can think about that would make for a very, very effective Zoom call or online call? I'm talking more about the method and not so much about the tool.
Okay, yeah, great question. So I think you can apply a lot of the regular face-to-face ideals in a Zoom call. So what I mean by that is, first of all, face-to-face obviously is preferred. Everybody has always said, especially in the sales world, if you can get face-to-face, get those personal one-on-one meetings, because it makes such a bigger impact. They feel a stronger connection to you, and people are more likely to buy when you're able to make that connection. But yeah, you can still accomplish this over a Zoom. And lots of companies have been doing this for a long time. Lots of inside sales teams never meet face-to-face. They've done it for decades, and they've been able to connect and make it happen. And you're right, that's a lot of times on the smaller, medium-sized scale. And when you get to enterprise, it is important to make sure you've got that personal connection. You need more than just a feature fit or a service fit for it to happen. And so one of the things that you can do is make sure your appearance looks good. Make sure you still dress the part. However you would dress in that meeting when you're going to meet them, do the same thing. Make sure the hair looks good. Make sure you put on appropriate makeup. If you do that, make sure that you are presentable. And that's really, really important. And then try and connect with them. Be personable. Try not to be too stiff and businesslike. Just like you would be in a meeting one-on-one, break the ice. Ask them about their family. How are things going? And especially right now, ask them if everything's okay with their loved ones, that they're staying safe. You make sure to break that ice. If you can make a connection, that's really going to go a long way towards your sales effort.
Very interesting, and I like the tip that you have about making things personal, and I think it extends just beyond the circumstances right now. I think people should always be personal, especially the initial 5 to 10 minutes when you're talking. I think getting down to business seems like a very nice option. I mean, I prefer it sometimes, but you're not going to connect with the person deeply, and you'll have a very shallow relationship if you don't go deep. So I think that's a very, very good tip that you had. I was also thinking on a different tangent. I was thinking maybe, Zoom, it's still 2D, it's still two-dimensional. What if you dug deeper and you got into VR or probably holographic sales where, I could send you an hologram of me talking, pre-recorded message, or maybe I'm just able to, live stream the hologram to you. That's possible, that's being done. I mean, we're not there yet, but these are realities that, like with existing technology that can be facilitated, probably in 5 years, maybe sales, maybe person-to-person interactions move in that direction because it's expensive to travel. It causes pollution. I think we've all realized how much the pollution levels have come down now that people aren't traveling as much. Maybe it's going to be holograms. Maybe you're going to be at home. You have these bunch of gizmos and awesome software, and you're just hooking up things, and you're working very efficiently from home. So I think the workplace is going to evolve. It's obviously going to a place of remote. Maybe if not to the level where people are working from home, we could see something like, breaking a team of 100 into smaller units of 10s that work in specific areas within a city or something of that nature, whatever makes the most economical sense and environmental sense. I think that's becoming a hot topic now. The environment, and I'm very happy that that's happening. I'm really upset that it took a catastrophe for us to realize, what's happening to the environment. But these are interesting scenarios that are coming up right now, I think.
Yeah, I completely agree, and it is crazy to see what's happening. I mean, I've seen studies on China's pollution lately. It's just incredible what just a small change can do. But that's interesting about the hologram and the holographic sales calls. That'll be crazy to have actually something like that projected and feel like you're right there. Even I think VR, which we're very close to. VR is pretty impressive what they're doing with that right now. I think that we're very close to having virtual meetings where you feel like you're in the room. You're having a meeting that feels very face-to-face, even more so than what we're doing on Zoom.
Yeah, I actually was very deep into virtual reality. I worked with Professor Stephen LaVale, and he was like the chief scientist of Oculus Rift back in the day. So my early beginnings, like sort of transitioning from my bachelor's to master's, was driven by my ambitions in virtual reality. I did work on a mixed reality sort of robot idea. And then I sort of phased out from the market because it was very early days and there were only early adopters in the market. I think there's a good potential for the next 5 years, but I think, as you said, like the technology is it's still a bit early actually. The goggles, I mean, the VR, like the headsets, they're not very comfortable. The experience is not good. I would rather trade that for I would say, an augmented reality experience where you have like those clear glasses and things projecting onto your real environment, as opposed to you going deep into virtual. And so I think that's going to be a prelude, and that's already happening. You see that happening on the phone already. There's a bunch of things, and even the new iPhone, it has a lot of good, I think, like augmented reality capabilities that are somewhat being tapped by things like Instagram, for example. You have those stickers, and then you have those things on TikTok and things of that nature. So I think we're getting there, but it's still sort of early, obviously, for a complete virtual presence, so to say.
Yeah, I mean, it's incredible what's coming, what we've been able to develop as a human race in the last few years, and it's fun to think about what's coming. But whenever I hear something like that about what's coming, what I constantly think is there are going to be people who don't adapt to it, who don't take on what's new, and they're going to fall by the wayside. And those who do adapt and pick up these new technologies, they're the ones who are going to thrive. They're the ones who are going to be leaders in the market of tomorrow. And so this is a situation right now that we're in that I'm hearing lots of people say, well, I'm just going to kind of hang out. Well, good, you can do that, but I don't think it's going to work out too well, because I see other people who are taking advantage. They're learning new skills. They're figuring out what they can do. They're refining their processes. They're making sure that they are improving both themselves and their business so they can come out of this much better than they went in.
For sure. How do you think companies should change the pricing of their products given difficult market conditions? There's going to be lower confidence in the market. So would you suggest they reduce their pricing, or would you suggest they maintain the same pricing but go for additional features and try to absorb some of the competition, or maybe not direct competitions, but like, let's not even call them competitions. Let's just say they start looking at other features that would add on very well with what they're offering right now.
Yeah. So I mean, that's an interesting thing. We're facing something that we've never faced before, and how to handle it. And I think it's different per market and per company. But most importantly right now is keep the customers that you have. Make sure that you're doing everything you can to provide them value and show that your product is needed, not that it's an extra thing that they'll trim now that the times are tight. You need to make sure they understand that your product is needed, whether you do that through education, or you do that through more features, better features that make them closer tied to what you're doing. There's a bunch of ways to do that, but you have to make sure to keep that solid customer base that you've built all those years. Beyond that, in order to get new ones, yeah, right now can be a tough time to do that. But I don't think that all is lost. I see companies still buying. There's people still selling. So if you think it's over and you're going to pack it up, feel free to do that. But I know that there are salespeople who are thriving right now. So I would keep pushing, don't give up, and make sure you're doing everything you can to show value to your prospects.
Those were some awesome tips and insights, Matt. I think definitely a lot of things for me to ponder over too.